This is the Project Cambridge podcast.
Once again, a very warm welcome to all of our viewers and listeners joining us today. And whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple or our website, I'm delighted that you could join us. So today's guest is somebody who I call the human dynamo. I'm embarrassing her already. Or the spark plug, and that would be Charlotte Horobin from the Cambridgeshire Chambers of Commerce. But before I introduce you properly to Charlotte, we just need to go through a couple of the really boring housekeeping bits. So first of all, just a bit of a recap on what the Project Cambridge podcast is all about. So we aim to bring you loads of cool stuff happening in and around Cambridge, science and technology, things going on in the community, really stuff that people care about and ways that you can get involved. And we do it all in a very low-key, accessible, inclusive and friendly and fun format. So with that said, and as we're low key, so we don't tend to record from a studio. So the sound quality is certainly not BBC level, and the video quality, well, it's not Hollywood, is it? And we also do have mishaps, cats occasionally and want to get involved, and doorbells occasionally ring. I'm not expecting any Amazon deliveries, but you never know here. And downstairs can be a little bit noisy sometimes as well. So just a warning, but it's all part of the Project Cambridge experience and we're here for it. So let's roll with it. So now, as promised, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Charlotte Horobin, who's the CEO of the Cambridgeshire Chambers of Commerce. Charlotte, thank you for joining us today.
No, I'm extremely glad to be here and really excited for this conversation because we've had so many exchanges. We often bump into each other at numerous events across Cambridge and the wider region. And I know the exciting things we talk about, so really pleased to be able to share it with your audience today.
Cool. So firstly, for anybody that hasn't heard of the Cambridgeshire Chambers of Commerce or not sure what it is that you guys do, can you tell us a bit about it and what it is that you do, Charlotte?
Yeah, very glad to. So my role is Chief Executive Officer. So that means everything ultimately lands on my desk, but supported by a wonderful team. And the Cambridgeshire Chambers of Commerce, our role is very simple. We're there to support businesses to grow. And that's important because businesses are a force for good. They generate taxes and that helps them to pay for all of the amazing things that our communities need, whether it be roads, nurses, teachers. So that's really the very, very big picture. But ultimately, we are an organisation that supports businesses, the wider community, voluntary groups, community interest companies, and we work really closely with local and national government to make sure that we've got good economic growth. So ultimately, we're there to try and help protect our businesses, make sure that they've got that friendly arm around their shoulder, that they've got really cost-effective ways of looking after themselves and their teams. But we also play a huge role to help raise people's brands, profiles, and that of the region. It's important to us that we think we're blessed with Cambridgeshire and Peterborough being a world leading region, and it's part of our duty, we think, to make sure that we showcase that and shout about it. So we run over 100 events every year. We're connecting people. We are the business and organisation matchmaker. It's our job to be curious on everybody else's behalf. And we've got a really unique role because we also have expertise in international trade. So we help businesses to grow globally. So ultimately, you've got that kind of roots are based very locally. We've got national influence through the British Chambers of Commerce, but our reach is absolutely global. So ultimately, we're there for every size sector of organisation. And we've been proudly doing that since 1917, which I'm exceptionally proud of.
Wow, I never knew it'd been going on that so long. But what a great explanation, Charlotte. And I have to agree, those events really are worth going to. Thank you for that. So you joined back in July 2023. So you've been in post a little bit over 2 years now. So I'd like to talk about how that's been for you, because certainly everybody that I meet out and about, as soon as we start talking about the Chamber and Charlotte, everybody I meet speaks really highly of you, and comments on what a good job you're doing. So can you tell me how those first couple of years have been for you? And I don't want to embarrass you by putting you on a pedestal, but it's all very true.
Very kind of you, thank you. And yeah, it's been an awesome 2.5 years. Time has flown by, but equally it felt as though this has been a natural place for me forever. And I'm just one human. I've got a fantastic team with a superb set of skills. I'm backed by the most formidable board and an amazing chair in Faye Holland, who provides a lot of direct support to myself, supporting our strategic vision, and also my family. Big shout out to those guys when I rock in either very late at night or sometimes I'm heading out very, very early. So yeah, I am one person. It's been a really exciting couple of years. We've made quite a bit of change and evolution, which we hope is ultimately our big objective, is to make sure that supports businesses to grow.
Oh, really nice that you gave the team a shout out there, in particular Faye. I know she is particularly awesome human being, and of course to mention the family there, that's really nice. And we're going to talk a little bit about family and growing up in the episode. And for those of you watching, you might have actually seen that I'm certainly drinking a cup of tea here, Charlotte. Are you?
Yep, there we go.
And that would be Yorkshire tea.
It absolutely is, and we always have one in reserve. It's one of those things like, the ravens can't leave the tower. We make sure there's always Yorkshire tea. It powers productivity.
Now, I'm from Cambridge, but Charlotte has got an excuse for drinking Yorkshire tea, because Charlotte, you're actually from Yorkshire, aren't you?
I am. It's to the dismay of my husband when people say, "Where are you from?" and I say Yorkshire. And he quite rightly says, "But you've lived in Lincolnshire, another county that I'm, very fond of. You've lived in Lincolnshire more time than in Yorkshire." I always say, but it's a mindset. And really, my spiritual home, the family home, is Yorkshire. So I've spent my youth growing up in the north of England, the northwest as well, Lancashire, Cumbria, Yorkshire. But I spent really the majority of my life in Lincolnshire. And then when I was very privileged to secure the role as chief exec here at the Chamber, the board quite rightly said, "You must commit to our place." And we didn't waste a heartbeat at all. So we moved literally within a matter of months. So taking on a new role as chief exec and doing a house move, not something that I would recommend, but I'm absolutely delighted that we did. No regrets whatsoever.
That's a lot. That is a lot. So can we go back to you growing up in Yorkshire? I'd love to hear it, because I know some of the stories, but I'd love to hear a bit more about you, Charlotte, as a little kid and family life, and what you were like as a youngster.
I think one of the youngest photos of me is sat on a bin for some reason with a baseball cap on in dungarees, which probably speaks volumes. Usually always outside. Probably causing mum a bit of stress. I quite like to climb things. I don't know if it's because I'm 5'2". I've always got an aspiration to be higher up, but very outdoorsy. I love sport, and I am blessed with a really amazing family, but a huge cohort of cousins. So I've got my late Irish grandmother was very strong in making sure that the family were all together. So whilst I moved around the country, I typically always went back to Yorkshire for summer holidays and spent that with aunties, uncles, grandparents, but with the cousins who were quite rough when I think about it, playing rugby, wrestling, cricket, but it was all character building, I think they'd probably, say now. But yeah, as a youth, definitely outside, very keen on sport. And then I joined the Air Training Corps. So I was an air cadet for many years, absolutely dedicated to being part of that organisation. And I thank it a lot for today. A lot of the things that I learned, some of the leadership skills, the resilience, and the experiences that I had as a very young person.
It sounds like you and I would have got on very, very well as children. I mean, we get on well now, don't we? But I definitely have been up those trees with you and getting grubby outside. So yeah, very, very similar children, I think. So you mentioned going into the Air Cadets. You had a massive thing about the Red Arrows, didn't you?
I did, yeah. My aunt was the physio to the Red Arrows during the 90s, and she arranged for me to have very, very young go along to an exclusive sort of briefing where the Reds went out and they practiced near where we live, and then they talk about actually what went right or wrong, what today I guess we'd all call continuous improvement and a good team debrief. And I asked the question as to why everybody looked the same way, and at the time there was a lack of diversity, and that I took as a challenge and thought, I want to be a Red Arrow. So I had an uncle that was in the RAF regiment, and he encouraged me and was a great support along with my aunt. I joined the Air Cadets because I was really set. This is what I want to do with my career. So age 13, as soon as I could join up, I did. Had an amazing time growing through the ranks, lots of experiences. But unfortunately for me, Jen, you've seen me, my arms don't reach that far. If you put a bottle of water in the centre of a table, I can't reach it. My arms aren't that long, and my bum to my head wasn't quite the right measurement. So being a pilot, a fast jet pilot, certainly wasn't for me.
Oh, bless you. I mean, they really should be more inclusive on making those jets slightly different shapes for the less tall people amongst us. I'm so sorry that you didn't get the chance to do that, because that amazing. If you'd have had the chance to fly a Red Arrow, blimey. So
I'll let you into a secret. And I hope it doesn't get back to the family, but I did go to New Zealand one winter when I was doing my A-levels. I went over Christmas to see my aunt and uncle, actually, who had moved out there. And I went to speak to the New Zealand Air Force because they don't have fast jets. So actually you don't have to have the same body dimension. So I did start that process of thinking about perhaps joining the RAF in New Zealand, but we'll keep that secret on LinkedIn.
Sneaky, very sneaky. So that's just another example of you at a young age. You weren't really interested in dolls and painting your nails from what I can see, and somebody that wanted to get in on the action and fly planes and climb trees, live life a little bit dangerously and at speed. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and spend a lot of time with family as well. Both sets of grandparents have always been incredibly supportive. So I've spent many Saturdays doing jobs with my grandparents, which, very heartwarming and very valuable. And I feel very fortunate to have done that as well.
You really are. So, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your education with school life, and what led you to taking the direction of your degrees in medical science, isn't it?
Yeah, so I sound like I'm going to go back way too far, but if I think about primary school, I moved primary school every single year of my life.
Wow.
My mum ran pubs, so we typically had to move very, very frequently. So I don't know if that was the early years of learning how to network, learning how to try and get people on side and make friends quickly. But I think it made for a stronger person. I then moved very suddenly down to Lincolnshire and joined the local school, which was going through a period of rebuilding itself. It had been sort of listed, unfortunately, as either the worst or one of the two worst schools in about, the early 2000s, late 90s. So the plan was always to go there and to then think about moving on, because at the time there were grammar schools still operating. There still are actually in Lincolnshire, the 11 plus, which I hadn't sat because I've been living up in the northwest. So joined this comprehensive school and I just did tremendously well, which I think is a huge nod to the teachers that were there and the students that were there, that you can see a headline, but actually what goes on inside of an organisation is what you should really pay attention to. So I was really fortunate, had a great run of things, taking my GCSEs and again benefited from amazing school trips and being part of all the sports teams and really getting involved. I then had to leave because we cut off at year 11. So I took the decision to join the girls' grammar school in Grantham. So famous for producing Margaret Thatcher. So, politically neutral, but quite incredible that school has produced some amazing people, but Margaret Thatcher most definitely is the most prominent, I would say.
You could have sat on the same chair in assembly as Mrs. Thatcher, couldn't you?
Yeah, so you would walk through what was called Old Hall, still is Old Hall, and you will see Margaret Hilda Roberts as head girl listed in the wood. So that's quite special. It was a bit Hogwartsy actually, but you became part of this amazing community. I've got wonderful friends I still keep in touch with, on a daily basis. And that again was a different but really strong experience. And then I went off to the University of Leeds. I only went to one open day. I feel really guilty saying that. A bit lazy of me, really. And I said to my mum, I'm not going to go to Leeds because it's where sort of the family are. I know the region. And I went, really enjoyed the day out there and decided to apply, got a position and enjoyed again playing netball, playing rugby and living in the city of Leeds. And then I decided, due to having a bit of a broken leg, I needed to do something after university. So I went on to do my master's, which I sat at the University of Nottingham. And across both universities, I went down the route of biomedical science. So quite an interesting degree.
How'd you break your leg?
Day before my dissertation began, when Mum had said to me, you must stop playing rugby. I went up to Newcastle and it was a really cold pitch. And I'll just say it was a bit of a messy ruck and there was 2 snaps that sounded like a tree trunk and that was me.
Typical that you did it doing some other action activity.
Yeah, but, being tough girls that had raised money to buy kit, etc. The decision was it was brand new kit. They wouldn't cut my sock off and pulled it off.
No. Oh,
again, character building.
Very harsh, very harsh. So that sounds like it was probably a little bit of a bump in the road for you. So now, so it wasn't a straightforward journey. Now we're at the point where I'm really actually looking forward to asking you about this, Charlotte. So once you came out of university, you worked, and I mentioned at the start of this podcast about noise. I'm just going to say this, but downstairs sound like they're putting shelves up right now. And also I think their daughter is just learning to play the recorder. So if you can hear bang, 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 or the shriek of a recorder, it's my neighbour. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I can't, Jen, and if you can hear recorders at our end, something's going
it's definitely
quite off track in the chamber. I will just go back, if I can, to university, because I think this is an important message. I didn't really enjoy university. It's so obvious to me now that I'm very family focused, but at the time I perhaps didn't realise until I moved away and found myself thinking, oh my gosh, the world feels poorer, I'm more hungry, and it was certainly cold and miserable that first autumn. I'm delighted that I did it, don't get me wrong, but during my first year of university I was in a nearly sort of fatal, very bad car accident, which kind of it sucked all of the confidence that the Air Cadets had built into me and what my schooling had built into me. But you can rebuild back. And then probably unfortunate that I joined the rugby team and smashed my leg up. But again, things come your way and you just have to, as my husband would say, lean into it when life gives you curves.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it wasn't an easy few years with the leg and with the car accident as well. So I want to talk about, so when you finished university, you started working as a shepherdess.
Yes.
Now, how on earth did this come about? So
I left university, and this sounds like the line many people will say, I couldn't get a job. And at one point I was doing 6 part-time jobs, and I keep that bit of paper with all of them recorded down. 6 everything from wedding catering, making rapeseed oil, serving at a local campsite, you name it. There was a broad range of things. Unfortunately, everybody wanted you on a Saturday, so I used to put in quite a shift on a Saturday. I won't tell you the hours because it wouldn't be a great sort of role model position to cite that, but I put in some hard graft and I learned some good lessons. Barista, actually, some of the best lessons that I learned in my early career were serving coffee and learning brand standards, how to upsell, all of the kind of financial controls in the background. But I found myself in my grandparents' local pub with a chap with a big bushy beard, and got talking to him. and he told me that he was a shepherd, which I didn't really think was a thing. He was raising money for Help the Hero, so hence the big bushy beard. And he said to me, he told me all about his career. I've probably always been very curious and interrogated the poor fellow stood at the bar. And he said, it's an awesome career. He just got a new dog in the car. So you can imagine, Jen, you know me, I'm absolutely devoted to animals. So I wanted to tickle the dog, which wasn't pleasing to him. He said, it's a great career, but you can do it because you're a woman. So that was like, ooh. And I was still recovering with a broken leg. So I thought, what better way to rehabilitate myself? So I started working for this chap, and he was in his mid-70s. He's still working today, and he's still got that sheepdog. She is very, very old now, but she is still working. And again, there's rich in life and rich in life. I learned some fantastic life lessons. Sheep don't know that they can't break out on Christmas Day. We were farming in Lincolnshire, so you typically took ewes from cold places like the Welsh Mountains and Scotland during the winter months, and they feed on beet tops. So as the sugar beet is harvested, or you put them on turnips. But that also means you have to fence every field in with electric wire, which I had a great affinity to electrocuting myself and having quite a bad reaction to it. But yeah, that is how I ended up looking after thousands of ewes with a tremendous chap who, again, a great role model for someone that's still living life to the full, but working very hard today, close to, I'd imagine, 90 years old.
That's amazing. And am I imagining this, or was you have two dogs, don't you? And was one of them your sheepdog?
Yes. So she's the half sister of the shepherd's still working dog.
She's come from good stock.
Yeah, my first company car. That's how I describe the old girl. She's clocking on now, so every day we've got with her is a privilege. And she was a bit of a lazy sheepdog, to be honest. She doesn't like cold. She doesn't like wet. She doesn't do dirt. She's quite a princess. So, yeah, it wasn't the career for her.
And now, viewers and listeners, let's take a break from Jen and Charlotte. It's time for an ad break.
Rewind back to June this year.
Many people will be aware that we hosted our inaugural We Are Global Women Conference in June this year. And now to flip the script, we're looking to bring an International Men's Day conference. Quite a unique event because not many people celebrate International Men's Day, so we're looking to do it at ARU Cambridge.
Make sure you get your free ticket for the conference on the 18th of November at ARU Cambridge. Everyone's welcome.
And now, viewers and listeners, let's go back to episode 7.
It's fantastic to hear about all these jobs that you've done as a young Charlotte, and the things that they've taught you, and the experience that you've gained from it, and how that's shaped you. So you did all of these jobs, and barista and shepherdess and serving people food and drink, and then so you went to work at Bake UK. And that was really the kind of big turning point in your career, and somewhere that you really, really thrived. Can we talk about that? Can you tell us all about how that came about and the years you spent there?
So I applied for the job with the Engineering Employers Federation, which sounds awfully serious. And to our earlier conversation of how did I spend my younger years, it wasn't painting my nails and learning how to do my hair properly. So I had a friend, I remember my hands were red raw from working with the sheep. So she came and tried to make me look kind of a standard that someone else could shake my hand and not be associated with sheep. But it was a really interesting point in an organisation that was founded in the 1800s to support the engineering employers, and today still does a tremendous job to support manufacturing and engineering across the UK. But they were going through an evolution, which is really important for the experiences that I learned and some of the lessons I've taken into the chamber. But they were going through an evolution, and I had a very forward-thinking boss who was recruiting. And rather than taking somebody with decades of experience, he wanted to try something different. So he said to the chief executive, let me recruit these two types of people. Let's give it a go. And I think I knew that he was taking a bit of a punt. So I always put, 110% in, but I really wanted to do him proud. Funnily enough, my interview was probably with his PA in the lift, and she remains a very good friend today. And she called me her pocket rocket. So I applied for the job, started off, and very early into my career, I couldn't believe it when I got a call from my boss and the chief operating officer, a lady called Caroline Gumble, who's just joined TWI as their amazing new chief executive. And they said, we want to promote you to region director for a period of time. And I was successful in the end, managed to secure the job. So I'd gone from an organisation that perhaps didn't take people on that had just sort of left university with little experience to actually really breaking through those moulds and securing a role as region director, kind of representing the whole of the Midlands, so West Mids, East Mids and the east of England. So an amazing experience, but come 2018 now, we recognised that EEF as a brand was a bit difficult to say. It didn't showcase all of the things that we knew that we were, and we went through a really important position of talking about Make UK and making sure that we were modernising and thinking about the next generation. And that's probably where I ended up spending a lot of time finding out more about how skills and our apprenticeship system, our colleges, our universities, and how we attract the new generation of talent into sectors that perhaps struggle to do so.
It was a huge job for you, and you really proved to them that taking that punt on you, which they did, was worth every penny, really. What a
but I'm nothing but grateful. I was put through my formal corporate governance training. I've literally got the folder next to me today because governance is so important, especially to member-owned and led organisations like our own. So I make sure that we're trying to, hold the highest values possible. I had amazing media training. Don't judge me on recent interviews. Hopefully they're all doing the job, but I did benefit from fascinating media training. And I always remember a call on a Friday afternoon, and our lady who dealt with the switchboard at the time in Birmingham phoned me up and she said, you need to go home, you need to go pack a bag and get back into Birmingham this weekend. And little did I know, but we were about to host a meeting with Theresa May, the then Prime Minister,
wow.
Philip Hammond as Chancellor, Greg Clark as Business Secretary, Andy Street as Mayor, and Deborah Cadman, who is the Chief Exec of the West Midlands Combined Authority. And I sat there sort of in my mid-20s thinking, oh my goodness, wow, this is quite a room. So I had experiences like that, they're just invaluable.
And for somebody so young as well, and obviously Charlotte, you're still so young.
Don't know, it's testing me at the moment.
Now I wanted to just talk about this a little bit. So I don't know if any of our viewers and listeners saw, but we included you or your story, should I say, in a bit of a spotlight post on Project Cambridge's LinkedIn page, and that was back in the summer sometime. Now that post itself gained nearly 400 reactions and 80 comments. And I read these comments, and I'm sure you did too, Charlotte. And there were so many people throughout your career, even right back to the shepherdess days, who had so many lovely things to say about you. And people called you a role model. And other people called you inspirational, powerhouse. That was another phrase that we'd use. And that must make you feel so proud. And I know you're really quite a humble person at heart, and you just like to work and work hard and get on with the job, and you treat people with respect. But can I ask you genuinely how that makes you feel to read all of those lovely things that people throughout your career were saying about you? Because it's just so rewarding.
Oh, I don't really know what to say, Jen. And thank you. I've got a very odd place-based memory, so I know exactly where I was when I saw the post and thought, oh, what's this? because I wasn't aware that it was about to go out. And I just met with David, the chief executive at Burley House, and the whole trust that is associated with Burley. Absolutely fascinating meeting, and just a snapshot of what my day to day looks like. And I looked at the post, and I couldn't be more grateful for the generous comments. If I think about a lady called Claire Paul that I had the benefit of working with, Claire always talked about the give get, and I think that I really want to partner. I really want to collaborate. I want to treat people with respect, and hope that sometimes I can't please everybody all the time. That's quite a tricky thing as part of the role, because I do want to support everybody in the best way possible, but ultimately that's kind of never possible. So to get such generous feedback, thank you firstly for putting the spotlight out there, but thank you all to the people that those bouquets, they land really well, particularly on the days where you might have dropped the odd brick on your toe. So thank you. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah, it's just nice to get that kind of recognition. And I just posted it because I knew people were interested in you and had good things to say about you. But the feedback that in all of those comments was just amazing. So what I want to chat through now, so that really brings us full circle to your role today at the Chambers. So as somebody that's incredibly visible in the community, either speaking on panels or you're introducing events, networking, and talking about the media, you're talking about Cambridgeshire on the local news. You're a really, really experienced public speaker, and obviously you had that media training at Make UK. I'd love to chat a bit about how did you perfect that? Do you get nervous? And what's been your toughest gig so far?
Oh, okay. You might have to break that down for me, Jen, because my brain isn't processing all questions at once. So practice. How do you
perfect your public speaking?
Practice makes perfect, and I think the ability to tell a story and to think about if you were sat in the person in the audience seat or shoes. How do you engage them? How do you say more with less? That was probably going back to my degree, actually. We had a lecturer who said, what we're basically going to teach you in 3 years is how to take 20,000 words and boil it down to 200 words. So I really like being able to deliver a clear message, back it up with anecdotes, and make sure it's evidence-backed as well. I really do like the odd fact and nugget. You'll see me drop those out because I think it's really important that we don't just speak from our gut and heart, but we use that evidence. We make sure that it's embellished with anecdotes. But really, it comes from a position of responsibility. It's my role to speak on behalf of the businesses that share with me their very intimate challenges. They're very confidential issues that on their behalf we are able to raise the profile of and support them as a stronger collective voice. So practice makes perfect. Grab every opportunity that comes your way, even if it does make your toes squirm. Do I get nervous? Yes, I absolutely do. There's certain things that make me more nervous than others. My first ever BBC interview was on BBC Worldwide, so not a kind of soft, light entry into the world at all. And a really quite pointed question came my way that wasn't the one that I was expecting. That's good though, because you learn from that. You know that's kind of, be ready for that, and anything less will be enjoyable. And I have to say, I think we're blessed with some amazing reporters across the region, and we're grateful for them putting the spotlight on the issues that our members face. But do I get nervous? The biggie that I had recently was fantastic opportunity, thanks to the British Chambers of Commerce, to ask the Prime Minister, which was publicly streamed as part of our global conference that took place down in Westminster. And I had the opportunity to address Sir Keir Starmer as to the growth that Cambridge and the wider region has to offer, but how we unlock challenges such as housing and infrastructure. And I would be lying if I didn't say that I felt, really high pressure here, because you are there representing the county, you're representing your members, but ultimately I've got a job to do, and that's what I focus on.
How amazing that you got to put the question directly to our Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Never come across as nervous. So if you are, you do a good job of masking that.
Thank you. A colleague in my earlier career once asked me when I got my first promotion, I started doing more on the news, and he asked me, do you get nervous? And I said, yeah, I do. I'll be honest. I get blood pumping in my ears if I'm really kind of on edge. And he said, well done you for admitting that. So I try and stay true today to say that, yeah, there are certain things that still do make that blood rush into my ears, but that makes you feel focused and alive.
Yeah, I agree. And have you ever made any massive blunders?
I'm particularly clumsy, so a couple of colleagues have probably witnessed me fall off a couple of things behind the scenes. Zoe, who's our amazing events manager, probably holds her breath most definitely if I'm seen going on to any sort of platform with height. But I'm touching my desk now. Hopefully everything to date has been delivered pretty smoothly.
Good. I'll get Zoe to take out some extra insurance for you at events. So back to outside of this incredibly busy role that you have, Charlotte, what do you like to do to relax?
So again, when I'm sort of talking to younger people about find out what excites you and interests you, and I've worked out that I like variety. So my role's brilliant for me because I'm out and about, I'm in the office some days, I'm meeting brilliant people, and my private life is very similar. So I like variety, I like being active, and that could be kayaking, paddleboarding, taking the 2 border collies on a mooch. We've recently just taken our Harley Davidson across Europe, so that was really, really cool and quite different. So it's keeping active, making sure that there's lots of variety, trying to touch base with friends, but that's hard, I think, as your career starts to develop and, you know, different family circumstances build around you all. But I do try to make quality, but perhaps not the quantity of time to engage with friends and family.
So still very sporty and action, you know, very action sports kind of thing, and the motorbiking across Europe. No cross stitching yet for you?
No, it's funny you say that. So in my house there are heaps of, I mean, it looks like go outdoors actually, but there is a cross stitch that I bought, which I've done probably 4 stitches. So I've bought it 4 years ago. So yeah, I think about doing those things, Jen, but in reality, yeah, let's go camping, take the dogs for a walk. I do like having that active time.
Slightly more adrenaline in those kind of things. So we've already spoken a little bit about how worthwhile the Chambers events are, and there's a real mix of events that you guys have, and I've been to quite a few and really enjoyed them. I'd like to give you the opportunity to talk about any upcoming Chambers events which people should be looking out for, and should be getting tickets for.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you, Jen, for supporting and being present at those events, because it would be very lonely for the team if it were just me. And you'll recall we hosted the High Sheriff's dinner earlier this year. So we were delighted to support Frances in her new role. But we had a guest speaker, Khadija Mella, an amazing jockey, interviewed by Nick Luck. And at that dinner, one of our members asked me, do you see yourself as just a networking organisation? And I said, absolutely not. When we add all the sum of our parts together, what we're there to do is to deliver purpose. So whilst we know that people come together to network, to connect, we're always trying to, as we kind of describe it, do things by stealth, make a point that hopefully makes an improvement somewhere along the lines. We've just had a group of construction property related businesses talking about the A47 and making sure that we could brief those individuals on what was coming, what the project was. But behind the scenes, we will then do work to encourage government to invest and to encourage local supply chains and local job development. So yes, we deliver over 100 events every year. I think last year we welcomed over 5,000 guests from across the whole business community and various other groups. And right now we are firmly focused on our flagship event, which is CAMS B2B. So it's the region's largest business expo, really born out of the idea years ago of bringing together local suppliers to do business together, and exactly what a Chamber of Commerce should be there to do, to champion local, to champion place, and to help businesses work together. But we've really evolved the programme, and it's gone from strength to strength. So on the 19th of November this year, we'll be taking CAMS B2B to Hingston Hall. We've got a full programme, and that starts off with business networking, where we've got a formidable lineup of speakers. Gareth John, very kindly, very, very well known, and brilliant individual, will be chairing our first panel of the day, and we'll have representation from the Institute for Manufacturing, Innovate Cambridge, Cambridge Kinetics, British Sugar. So we want to tell the whole story of the region, whether it's innovative startup and scale up businesses, whether it is I think British Sugar now boasts about 113-year history and a product that we all resonate with, and also considering the importance of the innovation that Cambridge has got, and we can unlock more, but how do we turn those into goods that are made here in the UK and benefit people all around the world. We'll be hearing from Mike Green. Mike has featured on Channel 4's Secret Millionaire. He is the author of Failure Breeds Success. It's on my bedside table for a reread at the moment. And Mike will be sharing how he's built amazing ranges of businesses, how he supports growth, and thinking about those modern tactics in terms of how do you apply technology to build your pipeline, to sell and to promote your business. We'll hear from Barry Tom. Barry took £10, and it's a fascinating story. He had £10 and he's turned that into £15 million. He's a King's Award winner. He trades globally. He has really embraced e-commerce. So there's so many lessons for our attendees to be able to learn from. And he'll be in conversation with BBC's Louise Hullen. So that's just the morning. We then feed everybody again at lunchtime, and then we go again in the afternoon. So we will have the Talent Lab, where Andrea Wood, our amazing assistant Director for Skills and Employment from the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, who are our strategic partner. We work really closely to deliver good, positive change together. But Andrea will chair the Talent Lab, where we'll be picking up some quite thorny issues in terms of talent, people management, and the modern workplace. We will also be delighted to hear from Emma Fletcher, one of the directors from Octopus Energy. And when you talk to Emma about how they're a tech business and how fast they've grown and how they drive innovation, the backdrop of obvious sustainability and decarbonisation is very important. But I find it fascinating just to look at that business and how it's innovating. And then the headline, we've got Claire Williams of Williams Formula One. And we are a family that watches F1 on a Sunday. So we're delighted to have Claire, who will share her experiences of taking over what was the family business, really, from my dad, being a woman in motorsport, in an engineering, high-performing team environment, and how they had to attract, extra income and investment. So that will be fascinating to hear from Claire. And then to close the day, we will have our Mayor, Paul Bristow, and Rob Bridge, the Chief Executive of the Combined Authority, hosting a drinks reception. So please do book your tickets. We've got a number of early bird stages taking place at the moment, but please do book your tickets, come along. We've got an amazing exhibition that sits around the conference, which I think is a really attractive proposition. But please, if you want to exhibit, book a ticket, sponsor. Our doors are open. We really want to support our amazing brands to grow and to support our other, members of the community to grow.
Sounds like an enormous event. And I know you mentioned the Institute of Manufacturing. Tim Minshall's actually going to be one of our next guests on the Project Cambridge podcast.
Fantastic.
And I believe you've got Catherine Chapman coming along as well, haven't you, from Innovate UK?
We have. We're blessed. So we've got Professor Tim Minshall, now an author, but of course has got such strong ties and has done such an amazing job within the Department for Engineering and the Institute for Manufacturing. And I'm very pleased and proud to sit on their industrial advisory board alongside Tim. And I only saw him last night. We were talking about his new book. So please come along to hear from Tim, because he is just one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. And then, yes, Dr. Catherine Chapman. Again, I saw Catherine last night, and she is so generous to the Chamber and our community, and really is playing a vital role to join up the amazing innovation in Cambridge and showcase how we can have inclusive growth for the future.
Well, they are just two of the guests that we've got coming onto the podcast next. So listen in for those. So Charlotte, it's been really wonderful having you join us today. I'm really grateful for you giving your time. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for the invite, Jen, and keep doing the amazing work to champion the superb people we've got across Cambridge and the wider region.
I will do that. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us too. And if you enjoy the podcast, we'd love it if you could give us some reviews. So all of our episodes, they're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course the website. And as I said, we've got some fantastic guests coming up very, very soon. So please keep an eye out for those, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Project Cambridge podcast.